Hey everyone, happy to be here. Great event, great audience. I was asked to talk about Evernote experience and approach to going global. But first of all, why bother? So why? Yeah, there is a disconnect between these two screens. So why do companies go global? There are 4 reasons, at least. One is obvious, users. Another is talent. Talent is the scarcest commodity. That's the biggest constraint for company growth, always. Even when you think that you need money, what you really need is people. Maybe it's people who can get money. Partners. It's not the same for everyone, but for us, it was essential from the very beginning to build an ecosystem. So one of the reasons we expand is to find partners, and we'll talk more about that. And finally, capital. It's, again, this is to a large extent venture event. Capital is mobile, so sometimes you find financing in unexpected places. Like in Evernote case, we have strong Russian connection, but we started as a Californian company, but our first institutional investor was actually Russian investment bank, Troika Dialog. So what does it mean to be global? The old definition is pretty simple. It's like in the times of agriculture and manufacturing, being global means going to global markets, selling your stuff globally. We think about it differently. We think that modern definition of going global is that you build your product globally. Again, going back to talent, partners, capital, not just users. Folks, who doesn't know what Evernote is? Please raise your hands. Okay, great, thank you. So just, I'll skip that. Basically, we are, okay. Evernote is your external brain, like very simple. It's a service for remembering anything that you care to remember. We make it easy for you to capture your digital memories, and then we make it available on all of your devices. We help you collaborate, and important thing about Evernote is that unlike your biological memory, it gets better over time, not deteriorates. These are things that people remember. Sounds like most people here are Evernote users, so I'll just skip that. So, just fast. I am losing my struggle with the clicker. Okay, so fast forward, we launched in 2008. Today we have over 40 million users worldwide. That's our corporate structure. That's where we have offices. Aside from having offices in 7 countries, we run active marketing campaigns in 16 countries outside of North America. We are actually localized into 19 languages. This is like whole services localized into 19 languages. At least one of our platforms supports like 30 languages. I think there is a ghost that lives in this system, and he has opinion about what slide I should be showing. Just another interesting statistic is that we have way over 10,000 third-party API developers that do something interesting for Evernote platform. Users. So the big chart is our user base today. About 1/3 of them are in our home country, US. Then it's Europe, Japan, The rest of the world, compare this with the smaller chart, January 2011, and this is 2 years after we launched the service, so we were 2/3 almost in the US. So basically, by going global, we tripled our user base. That's where we are right now. Now, that was a snapshot of Evernote demographics today. These are registrations last month. This is like predictor of where the growth is or where our future users will come from. So you can see that over half of them are in developing countries. So that's what we expected. From the very beginning, we knew that 95% of our future users will be outside of the US. So we started our expansion sooner than most Californian companies. Country where we had most success so far is Japan. So Japan was like totally amazing. Just one indicator, we had 35 paper books published about Evernote, like 35. It's from Evernote for Dummies to Evernote for Power users. Pretty amazing. And we have a lot of partners in Japan. Actually, I think it's probably more than in the US. Again, it was great. We hope to reproduce this in China. Now, China is a different planet. In China, we actually had to build like separate service. We kind of cloned ourselves to China. It's called Yinjiang BG. We launched it on May 9. It's run from the data center in Beijing by Beijing team, but it's using the same technology. So we hope that China will be as big as Japan or probably bigger. So anyway, that's like probably like enough bragging. That's where we are. But next I'll talk about how we got here. So what was involved? So first concern is product design. How do you design for multiple countries, for multiple cultures? When we started thinking about launching in Japan, we talked to people, we talked to experts, and they were saying that, hey, like Japanese market is totally different. You have to change everything. We said, all right, so what do we have to change? Oh, like you have to change everything. Okay, so what do we have to change? Oh, everything. So we changed nothing. We translated into Japanese, but we launched the same service as we had at that time in the US and in Russia, and it did very well. Exactly the same conversation happened when we went to China earlier this year. Again, we were told, hey, just totally different culture, totally different user expectations. You got to change everything. We changed a little bit. We changed how our service interfaces with the other parts of China internet landscape, social networks that we use, mapping service that we use. But essentially, it's the same product. Now, I don't want to extrapolate this particular experience of ours to everyone. Evernote is about human memory. This is like very basic, like human need. So there probably are fewer cultural differences than for like many other potential ideas. But that was our experience. So basically, Evernote is the same everywhere, and partners provide what we call deep localization. So having a rich ecosystem of partners helps us reach users in culture-specific ways. It's not coincidental that we have so many in Japan. Well, internationalization and localization. So this is a must, obviously. We translated Evernote, all its components and all its applets. We use a combination of paid translators and volunteers, what's called crowdsourcing. That started back in 2008 when we, like, frankly, didn't have money to pay translators. But there was a lot of demand from a few hundred thousand users that we had at this time. Hey, guys, like, you got to translate Evernote into German, French, whatever. So we built a what we call a localization framework that makes it easy for people to come in and translate a few strings or translate a project or like translate everything. So crowdsourcing worked great for us. The problem with crowdsourcing is that these are volunteers, right? They like don't work for you. You can't tell them, hey guys, like deadline is next Friday. We are shipping Android platform, so like make sure that everything's translated. They will try, but you can't tell them what to do. So we augmented it with professional translators. Again, we like built pretty tight interface with one of major localization agencies. It's Logrus. That gave us predictability. Now, the way we built it, like one of the design principles for the localization framework was that engineers can work on the product and like don't worry about it. They're working language is English. They build English language version, and then automatically, when they release the app, it talks like 30 languages or 26 languages. When we went this crowdsourcing route, there were a lot of concerns about quality of translation and about like pranks, people putting silly things into translations. So we put some checks and balances. There were no scandals so far. As for quality, it turned out that translation quality by volunteers is pretty good. It's as good, if not better, than from professional translators, because these are users, they know the product very well, they're passionate about it, they do a great job. Well, now we can actually pay translators, but we still get like great quality product from volunteers, and we get support for languages that would be hard for us to justify economically, like smaller languages. So that's a significant part of this story. Hosting. So Evernote is a cloud-based service. Hosting is an issue. Running service for 40 million people is very non-trivial. We are fortunate that Evernote architecture is such that we are not very sensitive to network latency. So we don't have to fight speed of light limitations. We serve everyone but like China from California. This is because we choose to use native apps that have local replica of the data. They don't have to go to the servers for every click. So that was relatively easy for us. Again, I can't extrapolate this for everyone. And as I said, in China we have our own data center, but that's not because of the network latency, it's because of the way Chinese internet is structured and regulated. Support. So localized support, again, is a must. If we could, we would provide it for every language we support. Unfortunately, it's not economical, so basically we roll out localized support as we gain significant user base. So at this point we have English, Japanese, Russian, German, French, and Korean, traditional Chinese, simplified Chinese, and we are adding Spanish in November. Support is a major cost for us. It's like as big as operations, and we put a lot of effort into optimizing it, including localized. Payments. So Evernote is a freemium model. Basic service is free, but a small number of people buy premium subscriptions. That's how we run the whole thing. It's important to lower friction for payments. We have a way to go. We just started rolling out local currency payments, and we'll be adding local payment methods. That's very expensive in engineering terms. We can't possibly integrate with every payment gateway out there, so we decided to go with the payment aggregator. We are rolling this out. Big task. Marketing. So Evernote spreads by word of mouth. So that's the same idea as Viodeo presenter discussed. We are not viral in our core functionality, but turns out that people who use Evernote are pretty passionate about it and like to talk about it. So we are viral in this respect. People do talk about Evernote. And the best referrals we get is from users. When your friend tells you, hey, you get to try out Evernote, that's an endorsement. We do a lot to support this word of mouth, Sarafan radio. And it's education. Basically, our marketing is about education. It's educating non-users why they should give Evernote a try, and educating users how to use Evernote better. The center of our marketing platform, of our communication strategy is our blog. We don't do many press releases, only when it involves partners. But everything we do goes into the blog. It's product news, user stories, partner news, corporate news. It's all there, and then we promote it through social media, Facebook, Twitter, Vkontakte, Weibo in China. That's obviously very local. We start our international marketing when we go to a region, we start by going to a conference, meeting people, and then we choose a PR agency. This is a relatively low-cost operation. When we start, it's usually a couple $1,000 or euro per month, a retainer. And it's a very simple program. Basically, local PR agency disseminates the content that we produce in the headquarters to local press. And it's highly efficient. Over time, we expand it. We add social media. We start looking for local stories because they resonate better with users. It's much more interesting to read about somebody in your town using Evernote than about New York City or Tokyo. But again, it's a relatively low-cost operation, and it really leverages all the effort and money you put into building a product. Developer relations. So this is about the ecosystem. That's another strategic decision that we made early on, just because we are building a service that hundreds of millions of users all over the globe will use over their lifetime, and we are still a small company. There is no way that we can meet all their requirements, so we rely on developers, and innovation happens in many places, including Ukraine and Central Europe and Eastern Europe. That's actually why I'm here. We are looking for partners. We promote our platform. Developers are fluent in reading English, so we don't bother localizing documentation, but we do developer events, we do hackathons, things like that. Business development, different type of partners. It's device manufacturers, it's internet services, it's major part of what we do in every region, carriers. We have hundreds of partners at this point. Evernote is bundled on most notebooks, personal scanners, many tablets, things like that. We are in many app stores. This is very important. And finally, logistics, legal, HR, facilities management. Not worth talking much about it. It's just it's a challenge when you start setting up offices in remote places like Singapore or Sao Paulo. That becomes interesting. So that's what we are doing. So back to the beginning. Why go abroad? Well, because world is a big place. By expanding internationally, you get users, you get talent, you get partners, you may get capital. So I really encourage everyone who starts a business, especially in a relatively small market, as like Ukraine or Eastern European countries, look abroad. It's a huge leverage for your investment and your time. And first thing to do is to go where you want to launch your business. It's one thing to read about it, but you really have to go there and see for yourself. So thank you, and good luck, everyone.